A recent virtual workshop that we hosted, yeah, we can go to the next slide. A recent virtual workshop that we hosted to support establishing a vision for literacy coaching. One more slide over. We're also going to be sending out a follow-up one-pager worksheet for anyone who is in our mailing email list to help support that presentation that we hosted a month or so ago. And we'll have more presentations coming up in the spring. There's also a link where you can sign up to learn more if you're not getting our emails or you're not on our email list, or maybe you didn't see it come through the listserv. There is a link on the screen where you can sign up to hear about the offerings that we have from time to time. So what have we actually done? Going on to the next slide. We have so far hosted 958, probably more than that because this number is from Friday. Individual coaching sessions supporting, this is just exclusively in Utah since June of 2023. We've hosted thousands upon thousands of, at this point, coaching sessions across the United States since our inception, but this is just from Utah since June of 2023, supporting literacy leaders just like you. What are some of those literacy leaders doing? Well, this semester, we can go to our first one. We have a charter school executive director who's working with a coach. We can go to the next slide. And their goal is to ensure that daily classroom instruction is aligned to letters and science of reading best practices. And they're working with their consultative coach to create a plan for ongoing teacher support and a classroom observation tool. They're measuring that goal by tracking the % of their strategic plan that's created or designed by the end of the partnership. And some of the things that they've done so far in working towards that goal and untangling their ball of yarn is, one, identifying the needs. They worked together to create a survey to identify the needs of their teachers related to letters, the science of reading, and the instruction that's happening in the classroom. They then worked through collecting the data from that survey, and they worked at the executive director collected the data and then brought it back to the coach, and they are working together to analyze that data to determine next steps, just to provide support and to work towards accomplishing their goal and to inform the plan that they're aiming to create by the end of their partnership, the coaching partnership. Another one, we'll go to the next slide. We have a district reading specialist who is working to ensure that they are providing professional development that allows their teachers to develop a toolkit with strategies for teaching literacy and align to best practices of science of reading. This goal is really similar to a lot of goals we have this fall, where people are working to put together some type of specific instructional toolkit to support their teachers, with focusing on the things that make the biggest difference for students. You can see on the screen some different things that the coach and the participant have done as they've worked through their partnership, including designing a professional learning together that then was delivered, collecting feedback from the participants that attended that professional learning, and then moving towards collecting data from walkthroughs, and then using that data to drive forward additional professional learning designs. So these are just two examples of I think we're at over 40 partnerships we have this fall that are happening. And if you can think of a goal that you want support on and it's related to literacy and supporting teachers with implementing effective science of reading based instruction, we have a coach that can support you with that. Speaking of which, moving on to our next to the last slide, USBE credits are available, and we have 25 people who have already earned USBE credits for participating. You have to complete 9 coaching sessions in a cycle in order to have enough contact in order to earn the half of a credit of a USBE credit. And we've had 25 people since spring who have done that. So we just were able to start offering this in spring of this past 2024. And so we're so excited that we've had so many people already complete enough meetings to earn that credit. And moving into our final slide for today, we would love to help your pieces fall into place. It's not too late. Our fall cycle does end on December 13th. Of this year, but we will have a spring cycle starting up towards the middle, starting in February. If you're interested in getting connected with a consultant coach to support your work, again, it's free to you. It's already funded by the USBE. It's tailored to your goals, your needs, and your schedule. You can use that QR code or that matching link that I'll also put into the chat, and we'll be glad to get you connected with us with support. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the work you're doing to support educators, other leaders, and ultimately students in Utah to achieve your wildly important goals related to literacy. And thanks for those of you who have already participated with us. It's been a joy. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your meeting and a lovely day.
All right, thank you so much, Amber. Do we have any questions for Amber? Do we have any questions in our chat box?
Not yet.
No questions? Okay. As Julie has said, she even has a coach that she's working with. She highly recommends, if any of you are interested, to reach out, get in on that spring session. So, okay. We're just gonna skip a couple things until Julie's able to join us. So we're gonna just skip through the break, skip through all this really quick. We'll come back to it. So I apologize if I am. Yeah, we're gonna go to celebrations. Apologize if I've given anyone whiplash with my mad clicking skills. But we are gonna go ahead and we're gonna do some celebrations. It's always a great time to celebrate the things that are happening. We know there are a lot of good things that are happening in our state, and we are moving into the right direction. We're excited about that. So we wanted to share with you our third grade 70% or more reading on grade level schools. We thought it was important to go ahead and distinguish them by schools because it can seem overwhelming if you think of, in terms of LEAs and districts. So we wanted to break that down. So these are schools that have 70% or higher of their third grade students reading on grade level, which is equivalent to the blue part in Acadience reading. They also, this is another important note, they also have an N size that is larger than 10. So if the N size was smaller, we did take them off the list. And they had to have a positive change from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That was an important criteria for this group. You'll also notice on the chart, we have the LEA, the name of their school, their end of year percentage of third grade students reading on grade level, and then the change. And I want you to just think about it. Think about when we had our literacy goals as a state, the direction was for you to set goals that 3 to 5%, right? A 3 to 5% change from the beginning to the end. So take that in consideration as you look at this, because there are some of these schools on here that had a 20% change. So they started and end of the year 20 points higher. That is incredible. We have so many great things happening. So go ahead, you can look. We started with the top and then they go all the way down. I'm just going to give you a minute to look through that slide. I'm going to flip to the next screen. Just really impressed with the change from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it's pretty amazing. And flipping to the next slide, we had a total, I believe, of 40 schools or 46. Did I say that wrong? I can't remember. They're all on here. Very exciting, very exciting. So we also thought it would be helpful. people ask this question all the time. Well, I wonder what these schools, what kind of curriculum are they using? We know that many of you are in the process or have adopted brand new curriculum. So we decided it would be valuable to take the LEA, not necessarily the school, but the LEA, and let you know what curriculum they have for core and what intervention curriculum. And we just took this right off of our curriculum list. And this kind of just tells you, you got your LEA name. I believe that's the number of schools. And then we also have the number of schools and that were represented that had 70% or higher in third grade. So you can kind of see what curriculum they're using. A lot of, like I said, a lot of these schools just implemented brand new curriculum just this year. So that data obviously is based on last year's end of year data. So could see some exciting changes. And there's that next slide. Give you a second to look at that. Okay. And then I also wanted to share one high flyer. So we looked at all across the state and we were looking for, do we have a single school that has the percentage of students in first, second, and third in that blue section on Acadience reading, that blue section that are above 70%? We had one school, and it's in San Juan. And we call them they're our high flyer because of the percentage of students that they have that are on blue on Acadience. And we also added kindergarten. I couldn't help myself. I had to add kindergarten in there. They're not at 70%, but they started the year off with 21% of their kids in that blue, and they ended the year at 67%. Given the demographics of this specific school, that's very impressive, very impressive. But you can look, those numbers, those changes from the beginning of the year to end of the year are fantastic. And you can see on the previous slide, you can see, what curriculum they're using there. But way to go, way to go. All right, and then I'm going to turn the time over to Denise, who's going to talk about, just share with you some of our Science of Reading Awards winners that we've had.
Thank you. And we had just last week, we were able to go around and give some Science of Reading Awards again, and just want to share that with you. And as a reminder, the link in the presentation is if you want to nominate someone, that would be a teacher, a coach, a principal, a school leader, or a district leader. So if you have someone to nominate, please complete that form so that we can give out more awards. We love that. So we gave the Science of Reading Principal Award to Matthew Teeter. He is the principal at Backman Elementary in Salt Lake City School District. And we were able to surprise him with that award. He works really hard, is engaged in all of the work. He's in the community partnership with EdDirection. He's participated in change management. He's in the letters for administrators, just engaged in learning and then implementing what he's learning into his school. And then we gave some Science of Reading Teacher Awards. So we had Deanna Iverson down in Bloomington Hills in Washington County, and she is a reading interventionist, and she got the Science of Reading Teacher Award. Rochelle Stewart, she's at Meadowlark in Salt Lake City School District. And then we had two teachers at Backman Elementary. They are co-teaching, and that is Debbie Palm and Elizabeth Holloway in an inclusive classroom. So just happy to highlight them and all of their work embracing and putting into practice what they've learned about the science of reading. So once again, just a reminder to look at that nomination if there's someone that you would like to have us check out, and we'd love to honor them. Okay, I think we're going to go back. Now we have Julie. She's back. Had a minute to catch her breath. We're going to go backwards. So you're going to get dizzy again, back to her presentation on explicit instruction.
Way back.
Yeah, there we go. And educators have to learn to be flexible, right? We've got it.
Yes, thank you so much for my delay in being here with you this morning. I do want to share, I was in a superintendency meeting, and so sometimes those trump other meetings. But I want to bring word from our superintendency that they are so grateful for all the work that you are doing. It is really making an impact. We are starting to see change and see growth, and we're so excited to be able to see that. And they wanted to pass along their thanks as well, and let you know that they are so thankful for what you do and each and every day. So they apologize for making me late and wanted to thank you as well. So today I just wanted to share some information about explicit instruction. And some of you, this might be a repeat if you were able to join us in the summer when we had our literacy best practice symposium that we did for LEA leaders and principals. So some of this may seem familiar because it is the same thing, but I have had so many requests to share the information with their principals and LEA leaders that I wanted to share it again with you, and for especially for those that weren't able to be there in the summer. So I wanted to highlight this white paper about turning the science of reading into explicit instruction in literacy classrooms. So this is a white paper put out. Sorry, is that us? Oh, okay. And and just kind of highlight some of the things that it talks about with explicit instruction in this white paper. So first of all, it's focusing on that roadmap for the explicit teaching. And the first thing we need to do is focus on our critical content, making those specific, making it targeted to the specific skill that is being taught. And then we also want to make sure that we are sequencing those skills and building upon each other. So we want to, start with something easier and build upon it and build upon it and continue to work on sequencing those skills. And then, again, breaking down the complex skills into smaller units where we can, isolate those specific skills that need to be taught and organize and focused lessons. So we don't want our lessons to be all scattered and all over the place. If we're following those lesson plans, a phonics lesson plan template, to make sure that we are hitting each of those skills in our lessons and making sure that it is focused. And then, obviously we need to make clear our learning goals and the success criteria for the students, making it those clear distinctions so that the students know what they are learning and know when they will have accomplished it. We see so many times when we're out in classrooms that sometimes those learning goals and targets are on the board, but the teachers aren't addressing them. So we need to vocalize those with the students and have the students vocalize those. We have seen other classrooms that we've been in that the focus is brought out and they talk about it. And then every step along the way, they, I can read and write and spell words with the short A pattern or the CVC pattern. And, having the students connect back to that. Oh, here's when I'm reading them. Here's when I'm writing them. Here's when I'm spelling them, and pulling those objectives out so the students know when they are hitting those objectives and those criteria. And then obviously reviewing the prior skills before beginning instruction. We want to make sure that we're reviewing what we've done before and then building upon it. And then looking at the next two steps, where provide step-by-step demonstrations and use clear and concise language. So, providing those step-by-step directions, I think about that being a lot of that I do, we do, you do, making sure that that is taking place. And I think it actually comes up again, but making sure it builds upon each other and it's step by step, and we have that gradual release of responsibility. And then using clear and concise language. We don't need to make it flowery. We don't need to make it lovely and add in a whole bunch of other things that don't need to be there. Just get to the point And we can use academic language. When we use academic language with our kids starting in kindergarten and they know what a phoneme is, when they move to first grade, they don't have to learn that. They've already learned it, so using that academic language and with our students and not being afraid to share what those words, what those are and how we are using them. And then provide an adequate range of examples and non-examples. What does it look like? What does it not look like? And then provide that guided and supported practice, looking at that I do, we do, you do. We see a lot of we do in the classrooms. Occasionally we see I do and we do, but no, you do. We need to get our teachers to release that responsibility and let the students do the heavy lifting. They need to do the you do to be able to be successful and internalize it and be able to own their learning. And then get the students involved, require frequent responses, get them involved. If you were able to attend the explicit instruction that Denise put on with Anita Archer, I mean, I loved that she had us watch those videos of her and tally up how many times the students were responding. And then, divide that. How many responses are we getting in a 5-minute period? And if it's not 0, we need to increase that, so having teachers be cognizant of how many times they're getting students involved and engaged in the lesson is really important. And then monitor students' performance closely. Are we watching what they are doing? Are we providing that immediate feedback? Are we seeing what is happening with our students and paying close attention to it? And then I jumped to number 13 already. Providing that immediate and affirmative and corrective feedback. We don't want students to do it wrong and then not correct them so that they continue to do it wrong. We need to provide that immediate response of corrective feedback. And then deliver the lesson at a brisk pace, and I always think of Anita Archer with this one too. Do you have that perky pace? Is it taking place quickly and in a pace where that you can get through the lesson and get to all the pieces of the lesson? We've been in several classrooms where they do a great job and then they get down to the applying the skill in the text where the students are actually reading it and they're like, oh, it's time for recess, you guys can go out, and then they skip the reading part. No, that's the most important part. Don't skip that. If you need to increase your pace of the rest of your lesson so that you can get to that part where they are using those skills in the actual reading, then that's what you need to do. So make sure that we're not skipping any of the pieces of the lesson and using that perky pace. And then help students organize their knowledge. How can we help students gain that knowledge, organize it, file it away so that they can recall and remember that knowledge? We love to go into schools where we can see that they are recalling what they have already done and what they have already learned so that it helps them be able to connect the new knowledge to the old knowledge. And then provide distributed and cumulative practice. So the students need to have that time to put the work that they have learned into practice. And then another thing that we wanted to share was this infographic from Stephanie Stoller about explicit instruction. And it just has kind of 10 steps. So these next couple of pieces that we have here are resources that you can share with your coaches, your principals. What does explicit instruction look like in the classroom? Here's 10 things to look for. So just some quick and easy references for your principals and your coaches in the buildings. And then I do love this infographic as well, other than like in the tier 3. I mean, who has money for a dyslexia specialist? Probably no one. No one has that. So tier 3 is probably not being taught by a dyslexia specialist, but obviously we want our most informed and skilled teachers providing that tier 2 and tier 3 instruction. So in your tier 3, that could be your general education teachers, your interventionists that you have as well. So, but I really do love the side where it has the what and the how. So what are we teaching in structured literacy, and how is it being taught? So those are just another reference that you can share. And then this last one is an infographic that we created based off of what we shared in our literacy best practice symposium, where we are looking at the literacy leaders in the science of reading. And what we did is we surveyed schools that were doing well and looked at the 5 things that they had in common. And the 5 things that they had in common were school leaders monitoring the implementation. We can't emphasize enough how important our principals are in our buildings. If they are not holding the teachers to the expectation of implementing the science of reading and what they learned in letters, we're probably not going to see a change. So we need to get our principals on board and get them to hold those teachers accountable for what they're instructing in the classroom and how they're doing it. The next one was they had school-wide and grade level goals. So, your district may have goals, your LEA may have goals, but the school also has goals, and they're looking at the goals and they're monitoring what they're doing on a frequent basis and looking at the student achievement towards those goals. The next thing was the literacy coaches were engaging in coaching cycles. And I believe we had a brief discussion in September about the stigma of coaching, and we need to shift it from being the coaches there to tattle on me for doing something that I'm not doing right, to the principal, to being the coaches there to support me and help me be my best self and my best teacher, and so we are seeing that if the coaches are engaging in those coaching cycles, where they're having a pre-conference, they're setting up goals, they're setting up how are we going to collect the data on what we're doing. They're engaging in co-teaching or modeling or observing the teachers in the classroom, and then following up with a post-conference on how did it go? What can I work on? What went well? What didn't go well? What can I adjust? How can I implement better? Those are the things that we're looking for in those coaching cycles. And when we know that when teachers are engaging in coaching cycles, the instruction is better. They also had the 120 minutes of uninterrupted literacy instruction time in their master schedule. And then the school leader had a deep knowledge of literacy. So I know that many of them took letters for admin, and that was kind of like, I dipped my toe in the water of science of reading, so they didn't get the background knowledge that the teachers were getting of the science of reading. And so if they can gain more knowledge about the science of reading, that helps them to understand the importance of the shift and implementation. And then we have down there Patty Montgomery. When you say uninterrupted, can you expand on that a little? Sorry. Thank you, Kathy. So 120 minutes, that's got to be, it's going to have our next little slide. It has our from our framework, our suggested times. And it might not be 120 minutes all in one block in one day. It might have to be a 30-minute time here, a 45-minute time here, another 30-minute time, but that is time that you have for your tier 1 instruction and your differentiated small groups within that tier 1, but your tier 2 and your tier 3 are on top of that. So that is additional time from that. Does that help explain, Kathy? I hope that was good. I mean, we know it's nearly impossible to go 120 minutes. Nobody can interrupt that time across the board. So, if you can break those up, that's fine too, but we still want to focus on uninterrupted tier 1 instruction time. And then the 5 things down at the bottom, Patty Montgomery has a new book coming out, and she has looked at positive impact on student achievement and outcomes in literacy. And she has those 5 things down there. We also have Patty coming to do a principal coach partnership. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. We have a way for you to sign up, but that starts next week. So that's exciting. And then looking at our P12 literacy framework, here we have this one is just our 2nd and 3rd grade. So in our framework at the back, we have our suggested literacy block times, where you can kind of see how much time should we dedicate to each of these things. But what we don't want to forget are the rings on the outside. So this is tier 1 instruction. This is not tier 2 and tier 3. Tier 2 and tier 3 are in addition to this. The other thing is content integration. So during that comprehension, the writing, the phonics time, the vocabulary time, how can we integrate our content areas? If we're talking about this in science, can I use my science vocabulary to connect with my literacy and really work on integrating those content to build the knowledge of students during our tier 1 time? We're not saying that you can't integrate and read and connect stories from across content areas to help build your literacy instruction time. You can, absolutely. Literacy can take place in every single content area. And then we also want to include in there our benchmark, our diagnostic assessments, and our progress monitoring to make sure that we're monitoring our students, that they are making progress and filling those gaps and progressing for our students that are already at or above. And we have suggested literacy block times for half-day kindergarten, full-day kindergarten, 1st grade, and then the combined 2nd and 3rd grade. And then I think we have a 4 through 6, or I can't remember if it's a 4 through 6 or if we have 6 separate. So just wanted to share that with you as well. And now we are a little bit ahead of time, but we will go ahead and take a 10-minute break. And do we have any questions? We only have 3 people here. I know, it's like, who decided to have an in-person meeting on the first day it's going to snow in Utah? Oh, that's me. Well, yes, the frameworks, yes, they are the back of the P through 12 literacy framework. If you're in the slides, the link is on the slide. If you're not, Denise is going to drop the link directly to it in the agenda. So, or in the chat box. And any other questions online? Any others in the room? Okay, we will take a 10-minute break and be back at, looks like 15-minute break. Okay, let's say we come back at 10:05. Does that work? Okay, all right, thank you.
I think we're okay. We'll just turn it back on when I'm back. Right.
Mute. I don't know.
Don't stop sharing or anything like that.
Not gonna do anything.
Except we have Holly to fix it. We're grateful to be along.
That was a long drive. Did you get stuck in that accident?
Yes, I did for a minute. But we like early.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got right at that happened.
I just thought after the people
Out there and still hear you. So I'll mute Basement West.
even if they were first graders, they were still. Third grade. So now, my second graders that are in third grade, they know much like that. So they're studying in third. So they know. So we've got skip them pretty well. So I think it helps. I mean, but then now they have to go through thirds and to second. Because the curriculum is so good. Yeah. Which curriculum do you use? We have. Trying to think of it. I really. So they're split that way, but. You can. I just. So. Third.
All right, welcome back from break. Can everyone hear me online? If I can get a thumbs up in line.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, we are going to move on to some resources and professional learning opportunities that we have coming up. So first of all, we get the question a lot, are Lexiles still available in ALO? Yes, you can still see the Lexile score for students in the student list view. And underneath their little, I think they call it a pill bar or something like that, the pill bar, you can see their Lexile score. And then we wanted to just have a quick discussion about what are some appropriate uses of Lexiles. And so, you know, Lexiles are to assist educators in communicating with parents the level of books that students should be able to read on their own without any and comprehend independently. So when they're looking for what are good books for my student to be able to read, they can give them a Lexile range and or give them their Lexile level so that they can look and find books that they could read independently. But we want to make sure that the parents are involved in, is the content appropriate for my child? So a student may be able to read a book or at a Lexile level that the content of the book may not be appropriate for their age. So make sure that they are looking at, you know, is the content available appropriate for my child in this Lexile range, but that's to help them. And then oh, sorry, the chat box just jumped up. Oh, okay. Lexiles should also not be the sole measure used for selecting a book, kind of like we talked about. And then Lexiles should also not be used to group students for small group instruction. Because if we're grouping them by Lexile level, then we're just doing guided reading. So you know, we need to look at the skills that the students are missing and group students by skills that they need and attend to those as opposed to their Lexile level or their color from ALO, you know, from their assessment. So we need to be diving into that's why the diagnostic assessments are so helpful, because that can help to identify what the students need to progress and move forward. And then, okay, now the clicker isn't moving. Maybe oh, there we go. Okay. We were able to listen to this webinar. I guess it was a webinar. It was kind of just on YouTube. And the title of it was, "What can the US learn from England's rise in reading scores?" And so we were able to watch this where they interviewed their education advisor, and he talked about or their former minister of education, that's what they call them over there. And he talked about what they did to help raise their scores in England. And some of the things that they did, they ensured that they had a nationwide assessment that they were using to screen and diagnose students with their learning gaps. They instituted a nationwide curriculum adoption where they all were teaching from the same curriculum. The other thing that they did, they inspected in schools. They put inspectors out and they ensured that implementation of the science of reading was taking place. So they were out and in schools and identifying and supporting what could be done to change instruction. And I can't remember the last thing that was on my list. I think it's on my notes, but it's in the notes on the slide. So can't remember what that last one was. Oh, and I did assessment, did curriculum.
Curriculum accountability.
Accountability, that's kind of with the inspection. And is that all? Maybe that's it. Anyway, we can move forward. Yeah. So we wanted to remind you, I've sent this out in a couple of emails. We have Patty Montgomery coming to do Building a Literacy System, the coach and principal partnership. And this is for principals and coaches to teams to join together. There's limited space. So, and when they sign up, they are signing up to attend all 3 sessions. So session 1 will be on November 19th. That's next Tuesday. It is in person. And I'm sorry, we can't do it virtually and it won't be recorded. So, you know, if you want to join and participate, be sure to sign up and register. And then the second session will be February 4th. And then the third session will be April 14th. You will either choose the 8:30 to 11:30 block or the 12:30 to 3:30 block. So, you know, the same thing will happen from 8:30 to 11:30 and 12:30 to 3:30. It's just duplicated. We just did half-day sessions so we could accommodate more partnerships. So we have 1 week left to get signed up for that. And it will be an amazing professional learning opportunity for principals and coaches to come and work to build that literacy system. Also, as part of our agreement with Patty Montgomery, coaches and principals can reach out and contact her in between the sessions. So in between November and February and April, they can reach out to Patty and have one-on-one coaching sessions for about 30 minutes in between there too, to help and support the implementation and what they're doing to build their literacy system. So there are additional coaching supports along the way for that. So if you have people who are interested, please let them know to get signed up quickly for that. And then we have the science of writing. So when we sent out our teacher survey, and at the end of the year last year, we noticed that teachers were really feeling a lack of confidence in their instruction in writing. And so Amplify just released this science of writing document that kind of goes into what it looks like for writing instruction. And then we are still working on, at the end of this week, we will have our determination. We are going to be providing a writing professional learning for teachers in grades K through 6. So excited about that. So watch for more information. We'll get dates set up and get things moving with that. So we're excited to be able to offer that for our educators going forward. So we really are trying to respond to what we heard and want to be able to support the teachers in getting the knowledge that they need. And then these are some decodable checklists from Voyager Sopra. So when you're looking at your decodables, you know, do they have what it means to be a true decodable? So there is a checklist that was put out that you can kind of look at and go through. And then we also included Schools Cube released a list of great decodables that you, if you're looking for support in decodables, there is a list there that you can look at for resources. And then the next thing we have is we have our Science of Reading panel put out some videos that we put out the videos that from our Science of Reading panel where we interviewed them about the different pieces of the science of reading. And so if you click on that link, you can access those videos from our panel and see what they have to say about the science of reading. And then we do have is this our last one? Yes, this is our last resource. So we do have our updated curriculum list. We had some fall appeals that we have reviewed and updated, and they are on the list that you can see as well. Our next round of doing curriculum reviews will take place next fall. So if you have publishing companies reaching out to you and they want to be reviewed, they can reach out to our team that is over RIMS, but our next review for literacy curriculum will take place next fall. Oh, incentives from England, back in the England side, incentives. They incentivize their people. People do stuff when they know they're going to get something out of it. So, so there were incentives along the way. And so, yeah, so that was the other thing that I could remember, probably because I always think we never have any money to give incentives. But yeah, so, and then I'm going to turn the time over to Christine for some kindergarten guidance.
Thank you. All right. So I'm here to talk to you about kindergarten registration guidance. If you remember last legislative session, there was a bill that passed that really defined exactly some guidelines and things that need to be put in place for kindergarten registration. Unfortunately, that the timing of legislative session was in the middle of kindergarten registration, and the law didn't take place until July. So we still receive parent complaints and things. And so we're hoping this year we're giving the information out. We're hoping everyone gets on the same page and we can kind of mitigate some of those concerns that parents are having about feeling pressured about full day kindergarten and things like that. So we are reviewing. I'm going to take it in depth and we're ahead of time. So that's great. I don't have to feel like I have to hurry and talk speedy fast. And I will be sharing this information in this meeting. I'm going to be sharing this information in my kindergarten collaborative meeting, and we will be sharing this information with principals. We understand principals are really the key into getting the messaging out. That's some of the feedback that we were given by parents. Really, the problem is at the principal level, at the building level. So we're going to try to make sure that principals get the same messaging, and hopefully we'll have a wonderful kindergarten registration and things will run smoothly and parents will feel like they're supported in making their decision for program of choice. All right, so with that said, I just want to remind you of Board Rule R277730. So just take you back, remind you that this board rule allows an LEA to establish a priority registration. We wanted to make sure that was done because there's a trigger in the law that says if 19 kids register for half day, then an LEA is required to give them a designated half-day class. And for planning purposes, it makes sense that there is a cutoff for that priority registration because you have to be able to hire teachers. You need to know where those classes are going to be. So that's part of our board role. But that needs to also be communicated clearly. Our parents were very supportive of that. They felt like they were in limbo land. So they were really appreciative of this part of the board rule and having that priority registration and that deadline and having that communicated so that they can make that choice and then they would know what they had and their options and could move forward. And a suggestion would be to include that in a survey during priority registration. Also in our R277730 is to provide clear, comprehensive information about the available kindergarten options within the LEA during all registration. Really, it's half day or full day. It's half day or full day. You may be running, we have, in case you were wondering, we have 90% of our kindergartners in our state are currently attending full day kindergarten. And we feel like that's pretty, I mean, we have 3 more districts that are still ramping up. But 90%, between 90 and 95% is probably where we're going to fall. So we have a big portion of students that are in full day kindergarten, but then we still have we'll have a small portion of kids that are still going to want to, their parents are still going to choose that half day option. So, they just want to be made aware of that. Parents want to know that they still can choose a half day option. So we got to be very transparent. They have 2 choices. It's full day kindergarten and it's a half day option. And then that half day option could either be a half day designated class if that threshold is hit, or it's a half day option within a full day model. And then a typical daily schedule for those and any educational resources for those that are attending half day. And that can happen near the end as you're going about. All right, another reminder to provide and communicate half-day kindergarten options at the time of priority registration and after priority registration. We know that kindergartners will register, parents will register kids from the time the registration opens all the way through that first week of school. I already talked about that trigger of that 19 kids. If 19 kids enroll for half day, that they want a half day, then an LEA is required to provide a half day designated class during that priority registration. After that, if someone wants a half day, then they would just be given, hey, well, we have half day classes here. We don't have any designated half day classes at our particular building, but here's where they are located, but they can still have a half day option within a full day model. And then just be very transparent and communicate that out. So we did create a guidance document and that came out in July. And so I'm just going to be going through some of the things in that guidance document because it was, it's super helpful. It's going to alleviate a lot of the heartache and I think frustration that's happened the last 2 years with full day kindergarten expansion. So to facilitate kindergarten registration, first, obviously, we need to notify parents and include a timeline for registration. On this slide is a link and it says notify parents. It would be it's a sample letter for registration. It is very unbiased. It just says full day kindergarten is this and half day kindergarten is this. So it says students attending full day kindergarten will follow a schedule equivalent to the other grades in the school. They will receive comprehension instruction on the state approved standards in all content areas, including the arts, PE, and library. Then half day kindergarten, students attending either a half day kindergarten class or a half day kindergarten option within a full day kindergarten class will attend school for part of the day as determined by individual schools and will receive instruction that prioritizes the state approved standards for the content areas of English language arts and mathematics as required by R277730. And then in that, you should include that information should include a timeline for registration that includes dates for when that priority registration ends so that they know that if they get to make their choice by this date. And then after that, their choices are a little more limited. They still can have a half day option, but it would be in a half day option within a full day class.
Got a question in the chat.
Yes. What is that question?
Is it 19 students within the entire LEA or in the boundaries?
That is a really great question. The question is it within an LEA or within a school? It's within a school. It's within a school. So if you have 19 kids wanting half day within the school, for example, my neighborhood school, we still have 1 half day class and 2 full day classes. We have, 20, 21 kids that wanted a half day class. So that trigger was hit, they're providing a half day class. So that is really good. It's 19 kids within the school. All right. And then as far as that notification during registration, a date when parents will receive their child's schedule. That was another sticking point for parents. They just felt like not knowing and sitting all summer long, waiting to find out if they're going to get that half day class was just too much for them. But luckily with the priority registration and that determining whether you're going to have a half day designated class or not, I think that's going to help alleviate that. Our suggestion is to send a short unbiased survey out to gather parents' preferences for a full day or half day. And that would include on that survey, you know, that survey end date would coincide with when priority registration deadline is. So here's one of the things that was a complaint that came in multiple times in multiple areas across the state that came to me. They heard that parents were feeling pressure to choose a particular kindergarten program during parent meetings. So there were parent meetings during registration, not after registration. It was during registration where principals would talk about, well, we're do full day kindergarten at our school. I don't know why anyone would do half day. So that makes it really hard for a parent who really feels like that's the best place for their child is in a half day class. It really puts a lot of pressure on them. So we're asking you, please don't hold parent registration meetings. Communicate those things out, do it by email, do it survey. Don't gather parents. A lot of communities and some of the hot places that this is a hot topic. I'm talking Alpine, I'm talking Davis, and there's some other places. I know Box Elder, it was another hot place for this. It would be better to refrain from gathering them, let them make their decision through a survey where they're not sitting next to their neighbors and having conversations. We just want parents to make their choice, their program of choice that they want based on what they feel is best for their kids and not worry about what anyone else is doing. I know that makes sense to a lot of us, but so we're hoping and encouraging you to pass that information along to principals to not hold those type of meetings. You can have a parent meeting after the fact. All those decisions have already been made. The counts came in, the surveys have been compiled. You know whether or not you have to offer a designated class or not. That would just be so much better. This approach allows those parents to make that decision in a safe and pressure-free environment. So here's basically what that sample survey would look like. We did have, I believe it was Box Elder. We worked very closely with Box Elder the last 2 years on this. They sent out a sample survey during their registration time, and it basically, this is what they put in there. These are your two options, pick these two options. And then that way they knew if you're picking half day, they understood that it's either going to be a half day class or a half day option within a full day model. That way, then the survey comes in and the school can determine, did we hit that 19 or did we not hit that 19? And then they will know what programs they can offer. So here's that sample survey. We've got it. It's attached in our resources on a few slides. So once priority registration ends, that's when you look, do you have 19 kids in your school that want a half day option? Well, if you do, then you're required by law to provide a designated half day class. But if you have less than 19 kids in your school, they will be placed in that half day option within a full day class. And then you'll want to gather information about neighboring regions. Parents would like to know, like, what options do they have? So I think about my area. I have 2 charter schools, and I have my neighborhood school, and I have a private school, all within 2-mile radius of my home. As a parent, it'd be great to know, like, who's offering what, especially if I'm one of those parents who wanted that half day option. When I get notified saying, you know, this is what we're offering, we're asking you to let them know, like, we have the charter school is offering only full day kindergarten, so that they know. Or the private school, I have Challenger School is not very far from my home. They offer both half day and they offer full day. Parents have that information and they feel like okay, now I can make a decision. Am I going to go ahead and continue on with registration, or should I seek other options? And then notify parents of their child's schedule in their program of choice, as well as those options, and then inform them. This is another one. This is an LEA decision. You can inform them if you're going to allow them to change their kindergarten program of choice. Some LEAs have said you register for this and that's what you're going to get, right? Other LEAs have said you can change your mind if you want to register full day kindergarten and you want to switch to half day, you can, but you have to do it within a certain timeline. A lot of that coincides with our October 1st counts. That is an LEA decision to make, but if you could just communicate that out to your family so that they know. And then after that, priority registration is just our regular ongoing kindergarten registration. You'll already know what choices parents have. You'll know if you have a designated kindergarten class that's half day or not. So then when parents come in or they reach out and want to register, this is what we have to offer. This is what's being offered in our neighboring areas. And then also let them know that same thing if they can change their program of choice.
One more.
Oh, one more question. Perfect.
Families that want half day, are you required to provide 2 half-day classes?
That is also an LEA decision. There is no cap number on the number of students in kindergarten in a classroom. Yeah, 30 kids a lot. I'm just saying, I understand, class size is a big thing. I've been in classes just this year in kindergarten that were 15, and I have been in classes that had 30 kindergarten students. Hopefully those decisions will be made. It's a hard one. It's a really hard one. I understand that's a big one. They talk about it. I think every legislative session that I have been working at USBE, class size has always come up. Has anything been able to be done about it? No, not yet. But I hope that sometime it'll be addressed and we can work on that, because anyone who knows what it's like to be in a classroom, especially in these younger grades with large class sizes, it makes it very, very difficult. Did I have any other questions that came in? That's it? Perfect. Do I have any questions in the room? Oh, you ladies are great. So I did include all of the resources that we have. Our kindergarten registration guidance, this slideshow came directly from that. Like I said, please send it out to your principals. They are the key and making sure that we have a smooth kindergarten registration process. We just want everyone to be happy this year. We would hate to have to go back up and another bill pop up surprisingly like last year. I feel like this is something that we can address on the local level, and we can do our due diligence in making sure that parents feel like they can make that decision and not feel pressured. There's a sample parent kindergarten registration letter that is also linked there. And then I didn't really discuss toilet training. Yay, our favorite topic. But there's a lot of things being discussed through our board and probably up at the Hill. So the law still says that students shall be toilet trained before entering kindergarten, and all of that. So I did include, Marie had shared some guidance with us on toilet training guidance, and there's some parent communication for toilet training. It's been a interesting learning process as we've started the year off. I think we'll be in a better place next year. We get better every single year. So we're not perfect right now with our guidance and everything, but we are creating a toileting practices toolkit that it'll be for preschool through kindergarten. We feel like if we can really get some messaging and support in the pre-kindergarten, the 3-year-old, 4-year-old areas, we can really mitigate hopefully some of those challenges as kids are coming and they're not ready. We just want parents to know as well that that is a requirement. But there could be some changes coming. I know there's the toilet training will come to board committee in December, and they're going to discuss it and maybe add some things to the board role. Not quite sure what that'll look like. So we'll keep you in the loop on that. And I think that, no, that's not it. That's it for that part. But then I wanted to move on to some possible changes to R277419. If you remember, in R277419, when we, the board changed the required kindergarten assessment from being the KEEP to Acadians. We went ahead and the language in the bill when full day kindergarten passed, it said that kindergarten students would attend on a schedule that was equivalent to the other grades. That's that 180-day requirement. So because of that language, we felt that it was necessary to kind of adjust 419. So we went and we presented some options to our board. It was a hard decision. It's always hard to know whether to take the days or not. Is too many, too less. So we did, the board did take the option to eliminate those testing days. So we gathered feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback that that did not work. It was not great for kindergarten teachers, admins. It had some big impacts. And so we listened to that feedback and we went back to our board and we put in this new language, and LEA may designate no more than a total of 5 educational service days at the beginning of the school year for the assessment of students entering kindergarten. I felt like the feedback that was given was very compelling. And so that's why this is coming back. It did go to committee on Friday and it did pass committee. There was conversation about the number of days. We went with 5 and the feedback said 3 to 5. But it does say no more than, so an LA could determine if they wanted less than that. That could change when it goes to full board. I don't know exactly what that'll look like, but it felt like they were supportive in changing and getting some of those days back. Some of those, as you know, compelling reasons, a lot of teachers felt like they didn't have the support from admin because they started on the exact same day that all the other grades did. And it was very stressful and very hard. They also felt blindsided by kids who came in and they just didn't have the background knowledge they needed to set them up for success. So we'll keep you posted on that one. It goes to full board in our December meeting, that first Thursday in December. So be watching for that. I know that your calendars are due soon. You're starting to work on your calendar. So that's an important one to be watching for. And we'll keep you in the loop on that. And if you have additional feedback on that, feel free to send it to me. I'd appreciate it. All right. And we're going to continue and go because we are on a roll.
So we are going to skip this break and just build the break into our next part because it's your choose your own adventure. And so we will give you 30 minutes to choose your own adventure and have your break in that time. So that let me talk about the choose your own adventure and then we'll give you a time of when to come back. So for our choose your own adventure today, we are going to have you spend some time in the new website of Reading Universe. So back in September, we introduced Reading Universe to you, but it also was September, right? We were all like insane with school starting, and we also gave you lots and lots of resources that day, and we didn't want this great resource to be skipped. So we would like you to spend some time going to readinguniverse.org. And some things for you, you can choose what you want to look at, but the taxonomy is something you might want to take a look at and click on some of those things. There's some great videos. There's Q&A, which if you click on that, then there's short videos of experts answering your questions. That is really great. And there's also one of the videos is our own Science of Reading panel member, Elsa Hagen, and she is doing a 20-minute one-on-one with an MLL student if you want to see what that looks like. So, so you'll have your time, you'll have 20 minutes to look at Reading Universe and then 10 minutes of a break. So that'll have us coming back at 11:10. But I also want to let you know when you're done looking at Reading Universe, we have a Padlet that we're going to ask you to complete that has some questions. So when we bring you back at 11:10, we'll explain the Padlet and have you answer some questions in there, but just spend your time clicking on some things and explore the Reading Universe. Just to give you a little background on why Reading Universe was created, there was a benefactor who wanted to give money to pre-service education and found that that wasn't giving him what he wanted. So instead they started Reading Universe and are using that money to create this resource for all teachers. It's been collaborated on with lots of experts, Marilyn Adams, Antonio Fierro, Elsa, the writing part, Steve Graham has helped with, Nancy Hennessy on the comprehension. So there's a lot of expertise going into these resources. It is being, it just is new. And so it's being developed and added on all the time. In August, when I learned about it, there wasn't much in comprehension and writing. There's more now. So it is also a work in progress, but it does, to me, it's like a great, amazing literacy playbook that can give teachers the knowledge of what they need. So it explains each of the parts of the 5 pillars, and then it goes into what lessons should have, gives you the videos of lessons and great things. So spend some time. We'll come back at 11:10 and talk you through going through the Padlet to just answer some questions on what you found. So enjoy your time.
and share some of your new learning and your wonderings and how you plan to share this resource with your teachers and your coaches. We'll give you a couple minutes to explore those comments, and then we'll kind of share some of those out in just a minute.
I don't know what these people are doing.
I think you guys don't have issues getting into the. You don't have to sign in, right? No, it doesn't be.
All right, so there's a question on the eMedia site. You shouldn't have to sign into that. And under that comment, under Wonderings, Julie's put the link there. All right, so you guys can kind of see like this site has a lot of good resources and it is always growing. And I just thought we could take a minute or two if you want to, if there's someone that wants to open up their mic and share what they found or something that they liked. And then also we'll send this Padlet out with the recording so you can see the different ways that people plan on sharing and things they've learned. Is there anyone that wants to comment besides what they've put on the Padlet?
I'll comment. This is Kathy Hall from Washington County.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. I just, sometimes when you say things and you say it and say it, it doesn't have as big of an impact. But if Louisa Moats says it, then everybody stands up and listens. And so there's some super, super great video clips of Dr. Moats. And I think, sometimes it's just nice to have another voice saying what you're saying, but because it's Louisa, everyone will listen. So I really appreciated the video clips.
I think that's a great example of a way to use it. Anyone else want to share? I know for like me at our school that I just came from, we really like to use this as extra practice. We used a lot of the decodable readers on here for our kids that were practicing a skill and just needed some extra practice in text. And it breaks it down by skill. And that was really nice. And it was easy for our teachers to access it and print it off and send it home or practice in groups and things like that. So it's been a great resource for our teachers.
I also want to say, there was the comment, and I put a comment in the chat or underneath in the Wonderings where it talked about the resources and going to the materials that are provided from the curriculum first. Absolutely. We want to use what you want your teachers to use, what has been provided with the curriculum first. This is a great resource for you know, if a curriculum is missing, I mean, for example, and we know that there's a specific curriculum that is missing, teaching the soft C and soft G sound. So this might be a resource for your teachers to be able to go to get materials to fill those gaps that may be in those curriculum pieces. Or if they are needing some additional supports and resources for a specific skill. But the videos are invaluable, you know, just being able to see it in action and, you know, maybe using it as in a PLC, like, let's watch this video. What are they doing well? What can we do to incorporate some of those teaching practices? But definitely we want to make sure that your LEA, your teachers are using what is provided first and foremost. That is what is important. So I just wanted to make that clear, that we're not saying replace your curriculum with this, but use it as an additional support system. Like, can we get them to go here instead of going to TPT? Like, right? You know, because we at least know that this is some evidence-based materials that they can, and resources that they can use as opposed to something else. So, yeah.
Great. All right. We'll send this out and feel free to keep exploring and we'll move forward from there.
Go back to the slideshow.
I sure can. Maybe.
Oh, you might have to like.
Right there.
refresh.
Thank you.
There we go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right, and so hopefully you found some things that are helpful in that reading universe and will remember to go there and hopefully encourage your coaches and teachers to go there as well. So I'm going to talk about the professional learning grant. So with Krista Hoteling Changing Teams, I'm Denise Majan and I'm going to be overseeing the professional learning grant. And we just reallocated the funds. So every year after we've distributed the funds, there are some people who opt not to participate in professional learning grant. So we take that money and put it back in and then redistribute it to everyone. That has been sent to our finance department and they will be uploading those changes into Utah Grants. So just a reminder of that. And if you want to click and see how much more you're getting, and also there's an email going out today to the LD listserv that's going to have that as well. And then another reminder is the post survey. So remember with the professional learning grant, you give a pre-survey, and then when your professional learning is done, you send out the post survey. So just a reminder to you to send that to the teachers preschool through third grade after you have completed your professional learning. And just the ones that have participated in that professional learning so they can complete that. So just some reminders on the professional learning grant. You've got a little bit of extra money and to remember to do the post survey. Any questions on the professional learning grant? Oh, and we didn't update. So
I think if you exit and then hit refresh. So mine's not a touch screen.
yeah, oh,
So you can go like escape and then just like refresh. And then you can go back to share. Or yeah, it's slideshow. Oh, did it not come up?
let me go backwards.
Oh, there we go.
All right, sorry. I added these quickly. We had some people in the chat asking for our next dates. So I put in the slide for January 14th, which will probably be another snowy day, Julie. And then March 25th, let's hope that's not. Okay, so based on the numbers that we have online and in person, we will shift to virtual only for our next January and March meetings. We know that's a much better experience for those of you that are online. And since we have 75 of you online, we'd like you to have a good experience. It makes the recording a little bit better too for those of you that have watched the recording. Also, if you are not getting our emails, we have switched to a listserv. And so there is the email that you need to send your information to so that you can be added to our listserv. And when I get back, I'll put that in the chat. And then if you want the dates for next year for the LD, that's September, November, or January and March. Those are the dates there if you would like those. Okay,
The post survey should not be completed until the item funds were spent on.
Right, yeah, so the profession, when the professional learning is complete.
when the professional learning is complete, then you send the post survey to those that participated. So for example, and Julie can correct me because I'm learning, this is new, but if you were choosing to do letters and you had 5 teachers that were doing letters with the professional learning grant money, when they were finished with those 5 teachers at the end of the year, then you would have them complete that survey.
So probably, they might do 2 because it'd be the first year and then the second.
Yeah, so they might have to do it twice because of 2 years. But if your professional learning grant money was for something that you did in August or September and that's complete, then you could do the post survey now.
If you're using your. If you're using your funds for a coach, then you can have either the coach fill out the survey, or you could have the teachers that worked with the coach fill out the survey.
Too. Great. Okay. All right. So there's your dates for our next LD meetings. And then the last thing we have is, just since we have some extra time, a Q&A time. Sometimes we have lots of information and we don't have a lot of extra time. So here we have some time. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or to unmute and ask, and we'll try to answer those, or at least make notes and get that back to you later. So I'm going to have Julie up here to answer some of your questions, and I'll be monitoring the chat.
And if you don't have any questions and you want time back in your day, you're welcome to hop off or stick around to see if there are questions that maybe you have. Yes, we're going to stop the recording. How do we do that? Oh, over here. Yeah, we won't record your questions. Okay.